Can you hear me now?
Yep. Well,
Hey, thanks. Sorry, man, I'm so sorry this is
all right.
late. The hotel Wi-Fi went down. Been on the phone. Oh,
Can you hear me okay? Yeah.
yes,
Good,
yes.
good, good, good.
No,
Yeah, no,
I'm
oh,
so sorry about
don't worry,
that.
don't worry. Yeah, it's these things happen all the time. So it's usually my
Oh,
end. We've actually met before a long, long time ago. Um, I was standing at the edge of an airfield. It was Duxford, and it was about 1983 or four.
really?
And I was there as an air cadet, and I had my wee logbook, and in flies Golf Alpha Zulu Sierra Charlie. And I thought, wow, I haven't seen one of these before. And it came over and landed just not far away from us. Canopy opens, out jumps Gary Numan, and I'm like, because I was a huge fan. I still am a big fan, but back then, We Are Glass and I Die You Die, just totally loved them. And then
Yeah,
you climb out of a plane. My second passion being airplanes, and it was just like, wow, So
well,
and then so
that's cool.
all of us little cadets were all shouting, Gary, Gary. And you very kindly came over and signed my logbook for me. So
Oh, good.
yeah,
Oh,
so
good.
all those days, all those years ago. Right, I'll tee this up and then we'll get cracking.
Okay,
So
mate.
that is Gary Numan and Cars. And believe it or not, it's 45 years since that song was released. 45 years, which is hard to believe, as the man himself is hardly aged. And Gary Numan is with us this morning. Good morning.
Good morning. How you doing?
Good, good. Thank you. First of all, before we get on with why you're on for a chat this morning, as a parent myself, you must be incredibly proud of your daughters following in the family tradition.
Yeah. It's been a bit special actually this year. Ravens. Well, actually, I started to speak to people about Raven last year, and she did three shows with me, which are the first shows she's ever done, and then I got her managed to well, not manage, it wasn't difficult, but she's got her own record deal now. She's put out two singles already over the last few months. The third one comes out this Friday
It
actually,
does, yes, indeed.
um, which are very excited about, and there's more planned. Um, no, it's just it's amazing, because she's talked about wanting to be in the music business since she was tiny. I mean, 8, 9 years old. In fact, she once said to me, I think when she was about 10, she said to me, she said, I want to be in the music business, Dad. I said, oh, fantastic. All right. And she said, but I don't want to play those small places like you do. No offense. No offense. Oh, none taken. Said, yeah, I'm only ever going to play in arenas. Oh, okay. Yeah,
Uh,
because it's as easy as that, is it? You've
yeah,
just
it
gone
is.
through. So she's wanted to do it forever. And she wrote songs when she was 10 and 11. I was in the studio with her when she was 10 and 11. She wrote a song called Lucky or I can't remember now. She Candy, Hard Candy, which sounded like Madonna. And but she was good. Even
Yeah.
at 10, you could see that she had an understanding of what a song was and melody and so on. And then she sort of kind of seemed to lose interest for a bit. And then the COVID lockdown came along, and why that was happening, she just threw herself back into it completely. Wrote about 60 or 70 songs
Wow.
in those couple of years, and that's kind of what's happening now. We've narrowed it down. She's narrowed it down, and I have almost nothing to do with it apart from sort of the old voice in the background giving her some apparent
Yes.
wisdom. She writes all her own songs. She does all the music, all the lyrics. She's very, very clever at what she's doing. Turns out she's got a great voice, really, really good singer.
Yeah,
Um,
and it is reminiscent of kind of you in a way, just in terms of sort of the dark feeling to it. It's great stuff and very moody.
Yeah, but that in a similar way to me. I mean, I think musically to actually listen to it, there's no similarities at all. She does her own thing. But in terms of where it comes from,
Hmm.
she writes about things that she finds upsetting, things that are bothering her in her life.
Which is what's brilliant.
Tragedy.
Yeah.
And so that's exactly the same as me. And so that's what I mean. It sort of comes from the same place in her head as my songs come from me in my head. So I think there's definite similarity in terms of what drives us to write songs. But her music, I mean, she is way more advanced, more talented at her age than I was. That's for sure. She's
Yeah.
light years ahead of me. So I'm very, very excited about where she's going.
And
And
then
and
Persia as well. Persia's writing songs. She's just
yeah,
done a song with Billy Morrison.
yeah.
I remember seeing her on This must have been a blast for you, actually, whenever she did the old grey whistle test with you.
Oh yeah,
And
that
she
was
sang on Ruin because it was almost
yeah,
40 years since your first
yeah.
appearance.
Yeah, well, Persia was the first one. She showed the most interest in it. Persia's 18 now,
Mhm.
Raven's 20. Persia showed the most interest in music, more than all three of them. And so she sang on My Name Is Ruin and the album
Mhm.
before last with me, did maybe 50 shows for all kinds of things, all around the world. Absolutely amazing. But what happened with Persia when COVID hit, she went the other way. She went very insular and isolated, and she stopped singing. She stopped having anything to do with music, and we was really worried about her for a while. But she's come through that now. She's coming out. She's going to music college in August. She's as you say, she's done this song, co-wrote this song called "Just Like a Movie" with somebody from Run DMC and Billy Morrison, who's Billy Idol's guitar
Mhm.
player. That's coming out soon. She's already filmed the video for that. So both of those, both my older kids are doing things, and which is amazing, really amazing. So they'll both hopefully have singles out in the same year, their
Yeah.
first singles. My younger one, Echo, who's actually about 5'9", really, really tall. Um, she's yet to decide where she's going, and her interest is more. She loves music. She actually plays music more than any of us. But in terms of creating art, her thing is more painting and poetry and stories. In fact, the last album that I did, Intruder, the latest one, that whole album came from an idea that Echo had about the planet talking to the other planets and saying how disappointed it was with humanity and how
Yeah.
terrible we were. And I thought, well, that's such a great idea, So, and I stole that and made Intruder. So the kids are already feeding me ideas that I'm taking. There was a song on the last album called "A Black Sun," which Persia pretty much wrote
Mhm.
the bulk of. So yeah, they're very involved in it, very creative, and
Well,
I
I hope she
love
got the
I love
royalties.
that. Yeah, well, steady, steady.
Right, let's not go that far. Right, Mr. Newman, you're coming back to Belfast in just over 2 weeks' time. Telegraph Building, Friday the 17th of May, with a very special 45th anniversary show. No pressure, by the way. It's the opening night of the tour, so
It
just make
is,
sure
yeah.
you know. I've seen in interviews over the years that you've said you're not really hugely nostalgic. So
Mhm.
so so why the sort of the revising the pleasure principle and replicas?
Well, I think because it's such a significant anniversary, being 45 years, um, that's pretty special. That's quite a landmark. And for songs like Cars to still be busy, they're still being used, still being covered all the time. They're still being used in films, movies, and various advertising campaigns. The song is as busy now as it was, in fact, busier now than it was when it came out. So it stood the test of time. Um, Even songs like Films and Metal on from that album, they're getting used all the time. And Me, that song Me was the
May's
the
fantastic. Yeah.
backbone of Where's Your Head At,
Yeah.
Basement Jaxx thing. So they're just still very much alive. But you are right. I do, generally speaking, hate nostalgia, and I don't particularly, as a general rule, enjoy going back to the past and revisiting. And I certainly don't like sort of living on the glorious moments from the past. I'm way more interested about what I'm doing next and where I'm going next. So it's unusual for me to do something like this, but I think every once in a while it just makes sense, and I don't feel as if I'm living on past glories with this sort of thing. This is the first time I've done Pleasure Principle for years,
Yeah.
years and years and years.
And
On
presumably the
sorry.
band will be doing it, the new way that you do the songs. It'll not be a recreation of the albums per se with all of the sounds. It'll be brought up to date that way.
Well, the sounds on the original albums were pretty key to what they did. Yes,
I've got
So
my I've got my Moog t-shirt on this morning. Just although we've learned it's now it's we always called it Moog, or he calls himself Moog. We always called it Moog.
yeah, yeah. I met his daughter, and I apologize for pronouncing the name
All
name
those
wrong for
years.
60 odd years, whatever it is. And so, this sorry, what was I talking about?
So just the sound when you come to do these albums now in 2024, what way do you do it? Approach it sound wise?
Oh yeah, yeah. I still I still feel that it's valid to try to just rework them a little bit. But I think there's a very, very careful line that you have to tread. The melodies need to be the same, obviously. You can't start fucking shit. Can't say that, can I? You can't start messing around with the tunes, yeah. The arrangement needs to be pretty much as it was. People want to know what's coming when the chorus is, they want to know those things, and that's what they've come to listen to. So I'm very aware of that and um, very sort of careful to make sure that none of that is messed about with. The sounds that are on the original albums, they need to be there. That's the sounds that the people loved when they bought the record. They need to be there, but that still leaves scope for just rebuilding slightly. Keep all those things in place. Keep the songs the way people remember them. They will sound the way people remember them, and yet they will somehow sound bigger, better, fuller, more powerful than they were before. And that's what I'm doing.
Well,
That's sort of the line that I tread.
yeah, and it'll actually be virtually 45 years to the day. I think it was the 22nd of May, 79 when you did the whistle test, and the 24th or 5th when you did Top of the Pops. So it's almost 40 while you're out on this tour. So, like, had you any idea going in to do those TV shows 45 years ago to the day that things would change so quickly?
Well, when I made replicas, for example, our Fringe Electric, I mean, we had no idea at all that that would do what it did. It certainly didn't um, have any of the kind of, if you was to write a list of what a hit single needs,
Yeah.
it didn't have any of those things. It was way too long, so radio wouldn't touch it. You couldn't dance to it really, not in any sort of known dance at the time.
That's why
It
you made
had
up
no.
your own.
We should have had to.
Yeah.
There was no chorus really to speak of, apart from some spoken word thing. It was about a subject that I knew, would never get talked about, or would never get on radio or on television, because it's about robot prostitutes. Um, so it just didn't have anything going for it, as a single. So my only expectation for Our Fringe Electric was that it would sort of make me seem a little bit more interesting. I was hoping that by the time that album was out and done, that I might be able to headline a club in London. Maybe I'd supported people at the Marquee, for example, in Wardour Street many times. And so my ambition at that time was to be able to headline at the Marquee. And I think the Marquee held about 600 people, 700. It's
One of
not,
those small venues that
it's a
Raven won't
little
play.
play. Yeah. But it's where I'd always gone to see people. So for me to be able to headline there would have felt like substantial progress, and that was my ambition at the time. And so when it did what it did, there was nobody more surprised or thrilled that I was. That was fantastic. Um, so when you're making these things, there is no expectation at all that album. When I had the arrogance of youth, and I always thought I was going to be famous. I always did. That was guaranteed. Not because I thought I was clever, just because it was an arrogantly young thing to think. That's what you want to do with your life, so that's going to happen. So, but I didn't think it would happen then. And with that record and with that song, I thought it was some
Right.
vaguely in the distant kind of thing. I really did think that I was simply building up experience, learning how to write songs, learning what the studios did, learning how to perform, perhaps, a little bit. It was an ongoing work in progress. I didn't think that was the moment that it was going
Yeah.
to happen,
Which is
but
interesting because I've seen you talk about, that moment when you went into the studio to record basically a punk album with Two-Way Army, and you found the Moog synthesizer sitting in the corner. Did you
yeah.
even have any kind of idea at the time that you would be regarded as such a pioneer, or that the sound would be, so readily received?
Well, I was aware when I found the synthesizer to begin with, and instead of making a punk album, which I was supposed to be making as a debut album, um, I went back to the record company with this kind of pseudo electronic thing that they didn't expect and definitely didn't want. Um, I was already aware at that point that what I was doing with the synthesizer was different. to conventional music. My argument with record with Beggars Banquet, when that happened, and I went to the record, I went to them with that record, and they understandably said, what's this? Don't want this. You're a punk band. You should be doing a punk album. That's what we signed you for. I was aware at that point that I really needed to argue, and my feelings were that I thought I'd stumbled across something very, very different. And I thought I was lucky. That synthesizer just happened to be in the studio at that time when I arrived. I hadn't booked it. I hadn't planned on it. So no credit to me whatsoever, other than recognizing its potential. And so my argument with them was that this type of music is what's coming. I said to them, I can't be the only one that knows about this. And obviously I wasn't, because OMD and Human League and Ultravox had already been doing it, but I didn't know about them at that time. I thought I was the only one. And there'd been craft work, but that was all very, very synthetic, and it sort of lacked the humanity that it was missing that ingredient for me anyway, even though I liked what they did. And so I was saying to Beggars Banquet that, this is coming. Other people will discover this instrument. Other people will be doing this. And I said, you have the chance here to be at the cutting edge of something that's coming, or at the tail end of something that's dying. That's your choice, really. Punk is on its way out. It's had its day. It's dying on its feet. And so you can force me, if you think you can, to stick with this punk thing, or you can let me do this new thing that I found and run with this, and let's just see where this goes, because pretty soon this is going to be everywhere. I was really confident about it, and that was the argument. And Martin at Beggars Banquet eventually just said, okay, let's give it a try then. So it was Martin's decision. It was his decision to say yes to me doing electronic music. That was probably the most important decision out of all of those things. So, I mean, I know I get a lot of credit for electronic music, but like I said, Human League, OMD, Ultravox especially, were doing it before I was. I was just kind of the first one to be seen doing it. And I think Andy McCluskey calls me the Johnny Come Lately of electronic music, because I sort of
all of about 6 months later.
Yeah. But I understand. Yeah, I understand that they were sort
Yeah,
of a
but
little bit.
not by much,
No, not by much. Not by much. And certainly my success opened the doors for everybody else that had been trying before, and all of those people became massively successful. Yeah, and that may not have happened if my success hadn't have happened. So I'm not trying to be humble about this. I appreciate my position in how that all happened. And some people could say I was the first person to get it right. Ha!
Yeah, there you go. First one with the number one. There you go.
Yeah, but no, I actually don't think that. I'm just joking. But it was the decision of Martin Mills at Beggars Banquet to go with it, and for them as a label, when they had very little money, to go with something that strange and that experimental. I think huge credit to him for being willing to take that gamble and put his money into it.
But also it was a ballsy conversation that you had from a 20-year-old at the time to push it. So
yeah. Yeah, I was definitely. It was a very, very bad argument. At one point there was another. Martin Mills was one of the directors, but there was another one there at the time, and he was fiercely against it. And me and him actually sort of squared up to each other in the office. We're gonna have a fight. We're gonna have a fight with your record company, And I'm only little, and I'm not really a fighty sort of person, But I was so passionate about it. I was willing to punch the director of the record company.
Well, it certainly stood the test of time anyway. So the concerts you're going to be doing in the Telegraph building, is the whole set made up of the full two albums, or is there other stuff sprinkled in?
No, just those two.
Those two albums.
Albums from those sessions. There are other songs like, We Have a Technical and We Are So Fragile that were in there. I think We Are So Fragile was a B-side of Our Friends Electric, but wasn't on the album. So we're bringing those things in as well. So all the songs on the album, any B-sides associated with the singles, and any other songs that were, around at the time that we were recording. Well, I think with Pleasure Principle, there might be one extra song. With Replicas, there's maybe another 3 or 4. I'm not sure.
Which were on the subsequent CDs years later.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. It's going to be amazing. Can't wait to see it. And then I'm over to Glasgow to see you again a few days later. So looking forward to
Oh,
that.
really?
Yeah.
Oh, great. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
What I'm hoping for is that you'll do a 45th anniversary next year of Telecon, because that was a huge album for me back in the day. So maybe
Really?
maybe next year you'll do a 45th anniversary tour of Telecon.
But you never know that the difficulty of it, this year has been a fairly quiet year. So, being able to do these things is great because there's no new album, there's no other touring going on. So it's not clashing with anything or sort of diluting the audience, so to speak. Next year, the new albums will be coming. So next year we'll be busy. I'll be touring the whole world again.
Cheapers.
We did about 150, 160 shows, I think,
Yeah, you
with
never
Intruder.
stop. You're always touring. Yeah. So,
Yeah, and we've only just finished.
in
It's
America.
been 2 weeks. We finished the tour, I think, 2 weeks ago with Ministry. That was a massive 38, 39 show tour. We got a festival before we do the British tour. We go back to America, do a festival over there, and come back for this tour that we're talking about in May. But yeah, then I've really got to get on with the record and make the new one. So next year will be more about the new record. So it's whether there's a space to put in a Telecon
Telecon. Yeah.
tour, So we might have to wait for the 50th anniversary for Telecon, I think.
Or you could go back to rehearsals today, work up a version of We Are Glass and I Die, You Die, and bung it in as an extra special next week.
Yeah, it could do actually.
Gary Numan, the Pleasure Principle Replicas tour coming to Belfast, the Telegraph Building, Friday fortnight, 17th. Tickets still available, and you can also get meet and greets, which if anyone wants to go to the
Yeah,
meet and greet and get to the sound check and all that kind of stuff, that's great. Gary, good luck with the tour. It's been 45 years for this chat to happen. I'm glad it's happened now. So it's
my
been a
pleasure.
pleasure.
Thank you, man. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed.
Yeah, bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.